Hi everyone, I hope you're well. So this is a video idea that when I started watching YouTube and I started to kind of get into goth stuff, which is, let's say, around the time of maybe when I was the age of 9 or 10, maybe 11 or 12 actually, I guess, but let's say, it was more than 10 years ago. There was this tag that was around. It might be a bit more recent, I guess. But there was this video that a lot of people did. Some of those channels, it's so old that some of those channels don't even exist anymore, I'm pretty sure. And people did this video called the 10 Un-goth Confessions, and basically it was very un-gothy things that people did. And this is a really, I guess, low effort video. I tend to make things that take me a longer amount of time to plan. But this was actually pretty easy to come up with because honestly I don't really ever consciously think of myself as a goth, and I know that sounds really cliche because of course goths never say they're goths, but it really is true. I mean, I don't really do gothy activities like going to clubs and stuff. The main reason why I consider myself, I guess I see myself identified with people who also call themselves goth is because of the music that I listen to and because of the way I dress. Although even my style is pretty subdued in comparison to those other people, and my makeup is pretty subtle as well in comparison. Because I'm not as bold. Honestly, I have actually way more than 10 because I'm such a non-conformist that I don't even conform to being a goth. So first thing is that I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid to sleep in full dark. I don't tend to have an issue when there's someone else, like if I'm at a sleepover. Sometimes my best friend comes over and I don't really mind sleeping in full dark when she's there, but for the most part if I'm by myself I just can't really do it. Even if I take melatonin, and I used to take at least an anti-anxiety medication, although I came off it recently, and antidepressant, of course, but I still feel these weird fears regarding the dark because my mind just can't keep itself from imagining things and being like, but what if maybe there's a face that's looking at me and I'm being stared at. I mean, I'm getting too off track, so let's just get to the next one. So I think that a lot of demonias are really ugly. The same with new rock shoes. In fact, I think new rock shoes are probably uglier. Mainly any shoe with any kind of platform of this type. Like some of them are not even parallel. They're kind of like this. Like almost like a trapezoid or something. Or a trapeze, is it? I feel like this is a trapeze and this is a trapezoid. But anyways, some of them have that kind of platform and I don't see why that has to exist. Like, this is perfectly fine. I don't see how this adds anything to comfort or anything. I know those kinds of platforms were really popular like in the 2000s, and I guess they're coming back in style, but I think they're very ugly. I don't mind chunky shoes. I think chunky shoes can be really cute even though they don't really suit me. I don't hate to see them on people necessarily, because sometimes when I look at the shoes themselves, like on a stock picture that the brand takes of the shoes on their own, I'm like, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen, like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. But then when I see someone wear them in an outfit, whether it's a very over-the-top gothy outfit or a kind of more toned-down casual one, I feel like they do make sense and I understand why they exist. But I think the shoes by themselves are still very ugly. Like I don't know, and also they're so expensive. I mean, I understand why they're expensive, but they are so expensive. Shoes that no man would want to wear. Can you believe I used to think that he was saying she's a nomad who wants to wear? That doesn't even make any sense. Number 3 is that I never got into Christian death, no matter how much I listened to them. I think I specifically listened to their most known album. I think it's called Romeo's Distress, or well, one of the songs anyway is called Romeo's Distress. I don't remember the name of the album, but that one. I don't overall care for most of the Batcave type bands, and I don't mean like the early goth bands, like the most iconic ones. I mean stuff like Specimen, like the more death rock stuff, I just don't really care for it at all. I feel like it's not very musically interesting. I don't really feel like the lyrics are anything very stimulating, or I don't see it as very fun either. I just don't really see what's so interesting about it. I feel like anything that is too close to being purely punk is just not really my vibe, even though I do like a lot of post-punk stuff that is punk infused, but not, it has something different, you know, bands that have made a sound of their own, like obviously Susie and the Banshees. Early Dead Can Dance, I guess, could be considered to be kind of punk. Bauhaus and The Birthday Party. I feel like those bands had more musically interesting things to add to music in general, you know? Number 4 is that I have more than a few pink clothes, and I usually have some in the mail as well because I want to do a look that is kind of cosplay inspired, not exactly cosplay inspired, but there's a few pink outfits that I have to make in order to make this character inspired lookbook. But I also like pink clothes. I love them. I love to see them on other people, and I don't really hate the way they look on myself either. I don't really feel like myself fully when I wear all pink, but you know, for once in a while, I think it's fine. It's kind of fun as well. Number 5 is that my biggest fear is death. I made a whole video about it a while ago, and it's definitely just it's a fear of eternity itself, I guess, more specifically, and I just feel like I just can't really deal with the idea of eternity and being dead, you know. I feel the way I see the afterlife is that there's no such thing, basically. I think that when people die, they go to the same state that they were in before they were born, which is like not seeing or feeling or thinking or perceiving anything ever again. And I know some people would find that comforting, but I don't. I think that is really horrible and I dread it, but I do believe it. It's just that I don't really like it. I really like plushies. I have a bunch of them right here, and not necessarily goth plushies either. I have a few Baphomet plushies, and one of them is a backpack as well. But I also have like regular cutesy plushies. This one is my earliest one. I got this gifted to me when I was a child. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and it's still in pretty good state. I don't tend to sleep with any plushies, so they don't really get tossed around or anything. In fact, they're a little bit dusty because I love to keep them and to look at them, but I don't really bringing them into bed because I feel like I end up kicking them out anyway or overnight. But yeah, I find them super cute and I just have an attachment to them. She's wearing bunny slippers. She's wearing a pajama and bunny slippers. She's so cute. I love this shade of pink as well. And this one is a kangaroo that my parents gifted me a while ago, and it's so cute. It has its little baby here in its pouch, and I put this ribbon here, and it's so cute and beautiful and soft. And this is one that my boyfriend gifted to me because it's a beagle, and my previous dog who died a bit over a month ago, actually, she was a beagle, and this is one, so it kind of represents her. I also have this giraffe that I was gifted on a birthday, or actually it was Christmas, on one of my many some Christmas ago. And this is a bunny that my best friend gifted me probably 2 or 3 years ago. And on a similar vein, I also really love Sanrio characters, especially Hello Kitty and Cinnamoroll. Cinnamoroll, to me, is just the cutest little thing in this world, and Hello Kitty is more, she's kind of everywhere, really. It's easier to find things that have Hello Kitty on them. Actually, I'm drinking matcha today, a matcha latte on this Hello Kitty mug that a classmate gifted me for Secret Santa last year, and it's very cute pastel. I found Dracula, the novel, to be really boring, and just something straight up unpleasant to read. But I did enjoy this play adaptation that I once saw of it. I thought it was really cool, but that's because it kind of cuts out all of the unnecessary stuff and it just focuses on what's actually part of the story. But yeah, the Dracula, the novel, is really not deserving of the iconic level that has been given to it. Now, is it more or less gothic if you never shopped at Hot Topic? Because I feel like it used to be like, people used to say, again, years ago, that, or at least there was this implication or this kind of, you had to be kind of embarrassed or self-aware if you said that you shopped at Hot Topic because it was considered to be like a poser store or whatever. But at the same time, it was kind of goth to shop at Hot Topic because basically everyone did it who was a goth. Basically everyone alternative had at least one thing that they bought there. But I've never bought anything from there. That's mainly because there's no Hot Topics in Mexico. I'm pretty sure anywhere, but definitely not in the city. We do have some similar stores, or actually better ones, but, or I guess more obviously goth-oriented ones, but I've never been to a Hot Topic. I'm pretty sure I've never been to a Hot Topic, actually. I certainly haven't bought anything from one, but I'm pretty sure I've also never been to one at all. There's a lot of stereotypically goth scents that I don't like patchouli, aniseed, and tobacco. Those are the main ones that I think people think of as like really gothy, and I don't like them at all. I don't really love sweet fragrances either. I think I prefer almost like woodsy, like foresty fragrances that are a little bit florally but not too much, or things that are kind of spicy, like maybe cinnamon or nutmeg and things like that. But yeah, I guess I'm kind of picky with fragrances, but honestly, aniseed especially is something that I cannot stand at all. Like when I want to buy masala tea, you know, I have to make sure that it doesn't have anise in it because I'm going to hate it if it does. Now, most of my wardrobe is black with some white, but I actually love a lot of colors that aren't even the typical goth colors. Like they're not dark purple or dark red or things like that. I do have that in my wardrobe. Those are mainly the colors that I have. But in terms of the colors that I actually like a long, pretty big variety of them. Like light pink or Barbie pink and turquoise, periwinkle color, blue purple kind of colors, which is kind of like periwinkle but a bit darker, light green, kind of like the matcha green that I have on my walls. You can see it right now, but you have probably seen it in our videos. And speaking of colors, not only are my walls green, but also I don't think I'd ever paint my walls, any walls, black. Maybe one black and maybe like a dark gray, not really like black. But that's it. Like I really can't imagine having a black room. I mean, like I feel like that wouldn't be very comforting. Now, like I said, most of my clothes are black, but I pretty much never wear fully black outfits because nothing really stands out when you wear a very casual all black outfit unless you have a lot of very contrasting textures, or something like that, you know, or you have very interesting silhouettes. Like if you were to have one of those goth boots that I don't tend to like, that will stand out. But with the types of clothes that I tend to like, that won't really make enough of a contrast, and it would just look like a casual outfit but all black. So really, most of the color in my clothes comes from the prints on my t-shirts, or, well, of course this one doesn't have color, but typically the metal t-shirts have color because they're album covers. I do have some velvet stuff, some lace, but even then I feel like everything just it looks more put together if there's different colors, especially because not all black clothes are gonna be the exact same shade, so it looks better and more deliberate if you, again, deliberately have different colors going on rather than like slightly different shades of black. Also, I unironically love Evanescence Bring Me to Life. I mean, I think it's funny and corny. It's a funny corny song, but I also love it. I mean, it's fun to make fun of, but it's also a good song, I feel, you know. So I don't know. I mean, say what you will. And honestly, looking back, I feel like the plushie thing or the Sanrio thing is kind of a cop-out because okay, like maybe some years ago, like I said, I'm talking a lot about the past, but I feel like some years ago people were a bit more self-conscious maybe of the fact that they like cute stuff but also goth stuff. But I feel like nowadays it's pretty common for the two to basically be overlapping, if not like pretty much a whole circle in a Venn diagram. Like if I see someone who dresses very alternatively, I would expect them to be into Hello Kitty and stuff like that, you know? I would be surprised if they weren't at this point. But I do have to say that at the time that this tag started, I do think that it was a bit more, it might have been my age and my experience, the way that I started to learn about goth stuff, but I feel like maybe some 10 years ago, again, I feel like it was a bit more like people just took themselves very seriously, especially in terms of subcultures. Everyone was taking, both metalheads and goths, for example, were just taking themselves so seriously. So to have these kinds of different things going on wasn't necessarily seen as bad, but it was something that stood out because it was unexpected at the time. And now I feel like a lot of these things are actually very expected and they're nothing too bold. But I thought it would be interesting to register them, to basically archive them anyway. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, you found it kind of funny or interesting in any way, and I'll see you in the next one.